Stay on the line. As the smoke clears. Chapter 26. Sergeant Baker grimaced as he regained consciousness from the explosion. Debris was everywhere. He couldn't see Detective Bickerstaff. Captain, can you hear me? Captain, make some noise or try to move. Can you hear me? Sergeant Baker yelled through the house, very distressed. He started to panic, trying to locate Detective Bickerstaff. Sergeant Baker sat up, trying to get the debris from on top of his legs, which had him pinned down. As he freed himself, he looked at the ceiling, thankful that it didn't collapse. Once he made it to his feet, he saw Detective Bickerstaff face down about 20 feet away. Sergeant Baker pulled his cell phone from his front pocket. He dialed 911. "This is 911. What's the emergency?" the operator asked. "This is Detective Baker. I have an officer down at 19966 Hoskins RD. There was an explosion of some sort. We need an ambulance ASAP," Sergeant Baker said as he scanned the room for a path to get to Detective Bickerstaff. "EMS should be arriving shortly to your location. Are you hurt? Do you need me to stay on the line with you?" the dispatcher asked Sergeant Baker. "I'm good, just a little shaken up. If I need you, I will call back. Thank you." Sergeant Baker ended the call before she could say anything back. He started walking slowly over to Detective Bickerstaff, trying not to fall into the mess. "Ah, fuck," Detective Bickerstaff yelled. Sergeant Baker noticed the board he was stepping on was pressing on Detective Bickerstaff. "I'm sorry, Captain, let me get this off your leg." Sergeant Baker stepped off the board. "No, don't touch it. I believe a nail or something attached to the board is stuck in my leg. Don't touch it. Call 911 and get me some medical attention," Detective Bickerstaff said, still lying on his stomach, with a little sigh. "I already did, Captain. They are en route as we speak." Sergeant Baker tried to locate the injury to Detective Bickerstaff. Standing in one place, he couldn't see it through the debris. "Great. I'm sorry I got you into this mess. I should have gone with my gut feeling once I noticed the killer spelled idiot wrong. I knew something wasn't right. He's been playing us this whole time. Don't worry, Captain. I signed up for this, knowing that there was going to be a lot of risks. Unfortunately, I learned early that we either win big or lose big. There's nothing small that comes with this job." "You can say that again," Detective Bickerstaff said with a cough. Detective Baker heard sirens starting to get closer. He walked outside and directed the paramedics into the house. He stayed outside and texted the team the address, with 911 behind it. He looked up at the stars, feeling relieved that they made it through the explosion. His phone vibrated almost simultaneously with the team's responses. Everyone responded, "On the way," except for Sergeant Harris. He dialed Sergeant Harris's number and he picked up on the first ring. "Whatever. Keep talking like that and I will stop bringing that good green over here." Sergeant Harris started getting dressed. "No cush, no bush. Play if you want to. Don't forget to lock the door behind you." She cut the lamp on her nightstand off. Back at Tracy's house, they finally brought Detective Bickerstaff out on a gurney with his leg bandaged. Sergeant Lyons and Sergeant Baker walked to the ambulance to check on him. When the paramedics raised him into the ambulance, Detective Bickerstaff sat up. "Sir, you need to lay down. You're putting pressure on your lower extremities," the lead paramedic said, sounding concerned. "I will do everything you need me to do, but I need a second in private with my detectives." Detective Bickerstaff had this look of urgency on his face. The paramedics walked to the front of the ambulance. "Sergeant Lyons, I need you to call the bomb squad after you collect all the clues you can find. The bomb squad will help us with the extra credit work. Hopefully, the bomb left some type of breadcrumbs. Therefore, they can narrow down our search. Sergeant Lyons, you are in charge, even when Sergeant Harris shows up. Sergeant Baker can fill you in on what led to the explosion. Make sure you recover the phone that we found in the toilet." Sergeant Lyons frowned her face when she heard him say toilet. "Don't worry about me. Take care of the crime scene as if I was leading. I will call you if I think of something else. Can you handle that?" Detective Bickerstaff asked with a scowl, his leg throbbing from the injury. Yes, Captain. Sergeant Baker and Sergeant Lyons sounded off at the same time. Great. Get the paramedics. I need something for this pain. Detective Bickerstaff laid back on the gurney. Sergeant Lyons walked to the front of the ambulance. Make sure you get our walkie-talkies. Don't put them with the rest of the evidence. You got it? Detective Bickerstaff said to Sergeant Baker. I got you, Captain. Get your leg looked after. We need you. Sergeant Baker tapped Detective Bickerstaff's good leg. He walked into the house, trying to beat Sergeant Lyons. The paramedics walked to the back of the ambulance to finish getting Detective Bickerstaff settled in. Sergeant Lyons watched them get him secured before they pulled off. Detective Bickerstaff held up his fist to Sergeant Lyons as they shut the door. Sergeant Lyons watched the ambulance go down the street. She started to head towards the house as Sergeant Jenkins pulled up. They walked into the house together. Damn, what happened? Sergeant Jenkins asked, looking at the mess. To make a long story short, me and the captain were in the house, following up on some clues that the killer left. We found a phone in the toilet tank with a note. The note had a code to get access, also an app that brought up the security camera. The camera showed Tracy Dillion tied to a chair. The note told us to press the unlock door button. Once we pressed the button, we watched Tracy blow up. Then we blew up here, Sergeant Baker said, while looking for the phone. He'd already pocketed the walkie-talkies. Tracy's here. She's definitely here, Sergeant Jenkins said, looking at Sergeant Lyons. Where? We checked this place thoroughly, unless the killer brought Tracy here after we left, Sergeant Lyons said with one eyebrow raised. Come to think of it, it happened so quick, but there were 2 explosions here, seconds apart, almost at the same time. We were here in the kitchen when the explosion happened. It blew us back toward the living room, Sergeant Baker said, as they all looked towards the living room. They noticed that debris from the bathroom was blown in the living room. The debris was coming from 2 different locations. They all started walking towards the bathroom. There was a gigantic hole in the wall inside the bathroom. Blood splattered into the bathroom from the hole in the wall. There was a hidden room between the bathroom and the bedroom that the cat was found in, the room that had a lock on it. They walked into the bedroom to get a better look. After moving clothes and junk from the closet, there was a secret door in the back of the closet. It seemed to be a 4 by 6 feet storage room of some sort. She never had a chance, Sergeant Lyons said, looking at Tracy's body. Tracy's feet, still tied to the chair legs, were the only parts of her body that weren't severely burned. They started collecting Tracy's remains. Where y'all at? Sergeant Harris yelled as he walked through the kitchen. We're in the back, in the bedroom, Sergeant Jenkins yelled back to Sergeant Harris. Please call this into the station. We need some extra bodies. Also, check to see who's working in the lab tonight. I think it will be great to have them here, Sergeant Lyons said to Sergeant Baker. Sergeant Baker got on the phone immediately. Sergeant Harris scanned the debris in the living room as he went to the team. When he made it to the bedroom, he peeped into the closet where Sergeant Jenkins was taking pictures. Sergeant Harris froze, still as a statue. Tracy Dillion never had a chance, Sergeant Lyons said to him. No! Sergeant Harris yelled as tears rolled down his eyes. He walked outside holding his head. The team looked baffled. Stay on the line. Hospitalized, Chapter 27. Sergeant Harris didn't go back into the house. He stayed outside smoking one cigarette after another. Sergeant Lyons walked to the front yard to check on him. She spotted him sitting in his car, flicking ashes out the window. She walked over to his driver's door. Are you okay, Tony? Sergeant Lyons asked him while watching her back from a passing car. He didn't answer. He just blew the smoke out his nose. Staring straight ahead in a daze, he never looked towards Sergeant Lyons standing outside his window. Sergeant Lyons has known him for over 10 years. She had never seen him this disconnected. Ever. She turned around as she heard some officers walking into the crime scene. She leaned her back onto Sergeant Harris's car, perplexed, not knowing what to say to him. She looked at her phone and saw a few new text messages. Captain, I'm at Presbyterian Medical Center downtown. When you finish, send one of the rookies to pick me up. Thanks, Tony. I need you to go check on the captain. He's at Presbyterian Medical Center downtown. Somebody else has to go? You know I'm second in command. Behind only the captain. The team needs me. Give me a few minutes to pull myself together, then I will be in there. Sergeant Harris looked at Sergeant Lyons back as she leans on the car. Captain left strict instructions that I lead the team as they loaded him into the ambulance. I was shocked, but it works in our favor. You can check on him while you pull yourself together. Sergeant Lyons turned to look at him. Sergeant Harris's nose flared up as he took a deep breath. He exhaled out his mouth with his lips twisted. You might be right. The captain might need to see my face. Keep me in the loop, please. I know Tracy's son. Sergeant Harris said as he started the car, looking at her through glassy eyes. Will do. Sergeant Lyons sounded off with conviction. She tapped Sergeant Harris' shoulder, then she walked back to the house. Sergeant Harris lit another cigarette off the one he was smoking. Then he threw the other cigarette butt out the window. He pulled off, headed to the hospital. At the hospital, Detective Bickerstaff sat up in the hospital bed with his left leg elevated on top of two pillows. He watched the clock on the wall. The hands were moving super slow. He picked up his phone, scrolling through his text messages. Sergeant Lyons still hadn't responded. The doctor walked into the room with his chart. Hey, Doc, I hope that you're bringing my release papers. Not so fast, Mr. Bickerstaff. After Nurse Anderson gives you a tetanus shot and checks your vitals. Your blood pressure was borderline high when you first came in. Hopefully, your vitals check out great. Then, and only then, will you be released, Dr. Abba said while reading his chart. Great. Detective Bickerstaff smiled. Are you in any kind of pain or discomfort? Dr. Abba asked. Not at all. Once the medicine kicked in, the pain went away. That's what I like to hear. Just be careful not to rush yourself on recovering. Your body will let you know when it's ready. Slow, slow, slow. Take it slow. This could have been a surgery moment if the nail would have hit your femoral artery. It only missed by centimeters. No matter lucky or blessed, you should be thankful. Try to lay back and relax. Your nurse should be here shortly, Dr. Abba said. Then he walked out of the room. Detective Bickerstaff ignored the doctor. He grabbed the remote to the television off the food table beside his bed. He turned the television on and started flipping through the channels. Sergeant Harris walked through the door. Hey, Captain, Sergeant Harris said as he walked through the door. What are you doing here? I told Sergeant Lyons to send one of the rookies once they finished up at the crime scene. Detective Bickerstaff got upset. He grabbed his phone about to call Sergeant Lyons. She asked me to come over here because I couldn't pull myself together after I saw Tracy's body. He didn't have to do her like that. Now I don't even know how to tell her son. Sergeant Harris fought hard to hold back the tears. Tracy's body. Don't tell me she was at the house. Fuck. He played us this whole time. That's why he brought the bucket upstairs with that urine and feces. Then he had the comet all over the bathroom. He constantly kept us moving in the direction that he wanted. From the smell to the ceiling. Even the cat in the windowsill. The stage clues are arrows. We have to move faster and sharper, Detective Bickerstaff said, almost crushing the phone in his hand. Sergeant Harris pulled a chair next to Detective Bickerstaff's hospital bed. Yes, you're right. I don't know how we missed her. I need to find Lefty and see if he knew about that secret room. I hope... Detective Bickerstaff interrupted him. Hold up. There was a secret room? Detective Bickerstaff asked with a furrowed brow. Yes, Captain. She was tied to a chair in a room between the bathroom and the far bedroom. There was a secret door in the back of the closet that leads to the hidden room. I don't know how we missed it. Now I have to tell her son that his mother was burned alive and scattered all over the place. I'm borderline having a panic attack just thinking about it. Sergeant Harris dropped his head and flopped in the chair. You don't have time to blame yourself or even the team for that matter. We have a killer out there that's making a mockery of our department. We have a lot of work to do. With this injury, I will need you more than ever. That's why I put Kim in charge of the crime scene. I need you to tighten up and focus on the suspects that are left. Between you and me, I believe we have a mole at the station. I hate to think it's someone on our team. But things aren't adding up, Detective Bickerstaff told him. Then he lowered the back of his bed so he could relax as the doctor suggested. Sergeant Harris looked up at Detective Bickerstaff. You lost me with that mole stuff, but it doesn't surprise me. I need to get some of the meds they're giving you. I might be reaching, but as soon as we start leaning towards one suspect, that suspect gets killed. I don't know how they keep having the drop on us. I don't want to rule out any possibilities. Okay. You want me to work Operation Flush a Mole? Sergeant Harris said as he rubbed his hands together. Exactly. Since we only have 2 suspects left, it's kind of tricky. Let's use Stephanie Williams as the bait. Don't let the rest of the team know. I will get a small detail from another squad at the department to tail Rick Stone. Our team will rotate shifts on Mrs. Williams 24/7. At the same time, the team needs to go through the staff again at the radio station. From top to bottom, owner to the janitor. This is becoming personal. The killer took the liberty of putting me in the note that led to Tracy's explosion. Therefore, he knows who's leading the troops after him. Detective Bickerstaff put his finger on his lips to signal Sergeant Harris to be quiet. He saw the nurse looking in the little window in the door before she came in. The nurse walked into the room. Sorry to interrupt your visit time, but I have a shot for you, the nurse said as she put her tray on the bed table. She started getting the needle ready, then she prepared his shoulder for the shot. She looked up and recognized Tony. I should have known. If someone's hurt, Tony's not too far away. Captain, I'll be back. I suddenly sense a virus amongst us. Sergeant Harris left the room. The nurse shook her head as she tended on the detective. Sergeant Harris went outside by the emergency entrance. He lit a cigarette as he paced back and forth, pulling the cigarette hard like he was smoking marijuana. He took his cell phone out his pocket and dialed Sergeant Lyons. Ring, ring, ring. He let the phone ring 3 times before he ended the call. Then he dialed his wife. Ring, ring. Hello, baby, are you okay? Ebony asked, sounding startled as she answered the phone. Yes. Baby, I'm good, but the captain has been in an explosion. I'm at the hospital with him right now. You know he doesn't have any family in the area. I might stay overnight with him. You do that. I will pray for him. Make sure you let him know that the prayer warrior is on the job. Be safe out there, baby. Love you. Love you too. Good night. My wife deserves better, Sergeant Harris thought to himself, blowing smoke from his nose. He put his cigarette out in an ashtray next to the entrance before heading back to Detective Bickerstaff's room. When he walked in the room, the doctor was leaving. I see that nutcase has left, Sergeant Harris said, referring to the nurse. I don't know what it is with you and the ladies, but whatever it is, it's long-lasting, Detective Bickerstaff said with a smile on his face. I hear you. Sergeant Harris sat in the chair next to Detective Bickerstaff's bed. On a more serious note, is Tashawn your son? Detective Bickerstaff asked. Huh? I don't think you have the right or the personal relationship to ask me that. I hope that's not the case. Therefore, I don't have to request another detective to switch out with you. So, if you truly want to stay on this case, make sure you keep yourself available. Say no more. Detective Bickerstaff raised the back of the hospital bed up. He slid his legs to the left side of the bed, then sat up. He grabbed the bag that had a pair of hospital pants, then started getting dressed. I'm assuming they are releasing you? Yes, they are. The doctor said, once I get dressed, press the button, and a nurse will wheel me out to the car in a wheelchair. I hope she's not waiting for that call. Sergeant Harris smiled, knowing the captain was dead serious. Sergeant Harris's phone rang. Hello, Sergeant Harris answered his cell phone. "Hey, Tony, I see I missed your call. Is everything okay?" Sergeant Lyons asked Sergeant Harris. He walked outside the room door before he replied. "Yes, great. The captain is getting dressed now. He's being released. We should be leaving here shortly. I called you to see how everything was going over there," Sergeant Harris said, while flirting with the nurse at the nurse's station. "We are wrapping it up here as well. We have combed the place the best we could, despite all the debris. The forensic detail did an awesome job. Now the bomb unit is going through things. Hopefully, I will be leaving here in less than an hour." The rest of the team went to the station to log in the recovered evidence. "Okay, great. Once I drop the captain off at his place, I will head to the station. I'm proud of how you handled everything, especially me. Thanks for being a good friend. Call me when you leave there." I see the captain stumbling toward me. Oh God, this guy. Then he ended the call looking through the glass in the room door. He rushed in the room to help the captain. "Wait, Captain. Let me help you," Sergeant Harris said as he ran over to Detective Bickerstaff. Detective Bickerstaff put his arm around Sergeant Harris's shoulder. As they walked past the nurse's station, a nurse jumped up and grabbed a wheelchair. She rolled it beside them as they were walking. "Here you go, sir," the nurse said, pushing the wheelchair. Detective Bickerstaff stared at the nurse with the evil eye as they kept walking. Sergeant Harris shook his head to the nurse, implying no. The nurse took the wheelchair back, then brought them a cane. "Thank you," Detective Bickerstaff said to the nurse as he took the cane from her. He started walking with the cane without holding on to Sergeant Harris. "No problem. Take care," the nurse said as she walked back to the nurse's station. She continued looking back at Sergeant Harris. Detective Bickerstaff pressed the elevator and noticed Sergeant Harris wasn't behind him. Sergeant Harris came back holding a business card with the nurse's number on it. The elevator door opened, and they both got in. Detective Bickerstaff pressed the first floor button and looked at Sergeant Harris. "What?" Sergeant Harris said very defensively. "You don't stop. You got 99 problems, and a bitch is everyone. Wow. A white dude flipping Jay-Z lyrics. You got me with that one for real. But you saw it. I wasn't trying to talk to her. I was minding my business. I just have this thing with women in scrubs. That booty be calling me. I might need to change my philosophy on women," Sergeant Harris said as he twirled the business card in his hand. Confused and brow raised, Detective Bickerstaff asked, "What philosophy is that?" "B&B, baby. Bowling for babes. That was my crew's motto in college. You line them up, I'll knock them down," Sergeant Harris said, with a smile on his face. Detective Bickerstaff tried to hold in his smile but couldn't. When they made it to the main entrance, Sergeant Harris went to get the car. Detective Bickerstaff leaned on the building waiting for Sergeant Harris. He pulled up, and the captain got in the car. Sergeant Harris pulled off heading to the captain's place. "Where are you going?" Without looking in the captain's direction, Sergeant Harris replied, "I'm taking you home. You need to rest and try to elevate your leg. After I drop you off, I'll go to the station. Me and Sergeant Lyons will not leave until we make sure all the evidence is logged into the system. You can pull up everything from your laptop at home. Trust me. Get some rest, because when that medicine wears off, you're going to be in pain." He felt the captain staring at him as he drove. "So, now you are giving the orders. For your information, I refuse the meds," Detective Bickerstaff said, lying and very annoyed. "This ain't about who's giving the orders. This is about you getting better and not aggravating your injury. And the way your eyes are glassy, you're higher than a kite." Sergeant Harris looked over at the captain. "Yeah, I am feeling fluffy right now. Maybe I do need to go home. Just go through McDonald's drive-thru first. I need an apple pie." "Will do." Sergeant Harris sounded off at the captain's request. Detective Bickerstaff walked into his apartment with his cane, holding his McDonald's bag. Sergeant Harris watched until he walked into the building. Then he drove off and dialed to Sean. Ring, ring. "Hello?" Tashawn said as he answered his phone. Hey, I need to talk to you in person. What side of town you on? I'm at my shop. I had a little get-together for one of my employees. Can it wait till tomorrow? I'm tired. I had a long day. Tashawn was trying to blow him off. It won't take long, but it has to be tonight. I will be there in 10 minutes, Sergeant Harris said as he ended the call. Stay on the line. Heating Up Chapter 28. August 26, 2016. 3 days later, after all the chaos, Detective Bickerstaff is up before dawn. He's at his computer going through the case files sitting at his desk. His superiors ordered him not to leave his apartment until Monday. They've been sending squad cars to his apartment to check on him. Sometimes he requests some of the evidence to be dropped off. Reading the notes over and over, Orphan Degenerate kept stabbing him in the neck every time. Also, the look in Tracy's eyes before the explosion is stuck in his head. He flipped through the pictures as he sipped his vodka. Ring, ring. He looked at his phone. It was Lisa. The time on his phone said 4:43 a.m. He sent the call to voicemail. Then a ding sounded off. He received a text message. Lisa, I'm pulling up to your place in 10 minutes. Detective Bickerstaff was dumbfounded because Lisa had never been to his place. He stood up and looked around his apartment. It's a mess, more so than usual. For the last 3 days, he's been ordering Chinese food and drinking Tito's homemade vodka. He got up from the desk and went to the bathroom to take a quick shower. As he bathed in the shower, he started thinking about his last episode with Lisa. Smiling from ear to ear, he turned off the water, got out the shower, grabbed a towel, then walked to the bedroom. He sat on the edge of the bed drying off. Knock, knock, knock. Lisa was at the door. He wrapped the towel around his waist as he walked to the door. When he opened the door, Lisa was standing there looking as beautiful as she could. She put a thumb up to someone down the hall. Detective Bickerstaff stuck his head out the door to see who it was. It was one of the officers from his station. He grabbed Lisa by the hand and pulled her into his apartment. When you said you were full of surprises, you really meant that, Detective Bickerstaff said as he took her bag and tried to hug her. Lisa backed away, trying to be defiant. She crossed her arms and tilted head her with attitude. You're trying to hug me after you sent me to voicemail. For 3 days. For 3 whole days. If it wasn't for Detective Harris, I wouldn't even be here, now or ever. Let me explain, Detective Bickerstaff started saying before Lisa stopped him. No need. Detective Harris told me about your accident. And by the way you're limping, it lets me know he was telling the truth. Also, someone must be disabled to live this way, Lisa said with disgust as she looked at the mess in his apartment. You got jokes. My housekeeper is home on maternity leave. He put her bag over by the bed. Lisa followed him to the bed. When he turned around, Lisa was behind him. She pushed his chest with her hand until he fell on the bed. She opened his towel to see his scar. She bent over and started kissing his wound. Then she got on her knees and started giving him fellatio. Detective Bickerstaff closed his eyes tight, biting his bottom lip as he moaned. He put his hand on the top of Lisa's head. Lisa moved his hand and pushed him to make him lay on his back. She did some things with her tongue that made him sit upright. He almost crushed her head as he squeezed his knees together. Lisa stood up looking seductive. She took both straps of her dress off her shoulder. She slid the dress down to the floor, then she stepped out her shoes and the dress. She stood there for a second before she got on top of him. Her knees straddling him, she started riding him like never before. He held her waist as she went up and down. When she got to the bottom of her stroke, damn near sitting on his lap, she wiggled. Up, down, wiggle, over and over. The detective was feeling good. He had his head tilted all the way back. When he opened his eye, he looked in the mirror on the wall. It looked like Lisa was fucking him. He sat up and started pumping Lisa back. He pulled her legs on the side of him. Then he grabbed her ass and started pulling her to him as he stroked her. Lisa started putting her fingers through her hair on the top of her head. When she got to the end of her hair, she placed it on her breast. She squeezed her breast together, playing with her nipple through her hair. They both started stroking hard until they orgasmed at the same time. Lisa fell off him onto the bed. She laid beside him, sucking her bottom lip, breathing hard. "Are you still mad at me?" Lisa looked at him, then hit him with a pillow. They kissed and cuddled without saying anything. Detective Bickerstaff held Lisa ever so gently. They both fell asleep cuddling in the spoon position. On the other side of town, Steve was brushing his teeth about to head out to work. "Sweetheart, Steffi said she's been texting you and you haven't responded," Stephanie yelled to the bathroom as she laid in the bed. "Damn. You right? She did hit me the other day. Did she say what she wanted?" He mumbled with a mouthful of toothpaste. He spit out the toothpaste, then rinsed his mouth out. "No, you know she's Daddy's little girl. She knows I ain't buying what she's selling. That's why Steven won't call you for anything. They know which parent to call." "The twins are smart," Stephanie yelled to the bathroom. "I'll call her today when I get off work. It would be nice to go to Atlanta for Labor Day weekend. What you think?" He walked in the bedroom, wiping his face with a hand towel. "Sounds like a plan. Road trip in the Range Rover." "Ballin'," Stephanie shouted, trying to be funny. He threw the hand towel at her. "Cool. I won't tell her when I call her later. It would be good to get away from all this bullshit here. For real. This asshole killer or whatever he is throwing a monkey wrench on how I move. This needs to be over soon." He grabbed his work bag. "I'm with you on that. I'm burned out myself." Steve leaned down and gave Stephanie a kiss. "Love you, baby. Be safe and enjoy your day. Love you more, and same to you." Then he went downstairs to the garage and got in the car. Wallet, phone, gun. He checked the glove compartment to see if his gun was still there. Everything checked out. He hit the garage opener. Once the door completely raised up, he peeled out. On the other side of town, sirens going off. Detective Bickerstaff's phone alarm was going off, sounding like police or ambulance siren. He tried to slide his arm from under Lisa so he can cut the alarm off. Lisa woke up before he got to his phone. "What the hell is that commotion?" "Shit," Lisa said, wrapping a pillow around her ears. "Sorry, that's my alarm." He got out the bed and cut the alarm off. "Since I've been home, I've been listening to this talk show on the radio. I'll keep it low, go back to sleep." Lisa didn't respond. She just made a grunt sound. He turned his radio onto 96.9 Iron Sharpens Iron Morning Show. They were on a commercial break. At the radio station. "I'm thinking about hitting the road Labor Day weekend to the A. Hopefully the twins don't have any plans," Steve said to Pretty Pearl and MK3. "That would be dope," MK3 said. "Me and my little man going down there too. He doesn't know it, but I have tickets to Six Flags. He's been in his feelings since my parents have been here visiting. He can't bring his big-head girlfriend over when I'm not there," Pretty Pearl said with a little smile. "Why she gotta have a big head?" Steve asked Pearl. "The hell if I know. You need to be asking God. He gave her that megadome, okay?" Steve didn't even respond to that, knowing there was no winning. MK3 started the 30-second countdown. 6.543.21 we on, MK3 whispered. MK3 drops the recorded intro. "You're back listening to the station that's blazing the nation. 96.9 FM Iron Sharpens Iron Morning Show. With yours truly, the infamous Lifeline, and my partner in crime, the lovely Pretty Pearl. This is the part of the show where we take callers to hear what's on their minds. This Friday we're going to do it a little different. We want to hear your craziest Labor Day stories. It doesn't have to be PG, but keep it radio friendly. We will be back to take your calls after we pay some bills." The on-the-air sign went off. "You know it's about to get crazy in here. For real, for real," MK3 said, pointing to all the lines lighting up. "You better hope none of your old jump-offs calls. Your wife will have a field day with your ass," Pretty Pearl said. "Whatever. I'm not the only person that has a past. Don't forget about you in New Orleans, okay, boo-boo? I hit you with your own shit, Steve said as he gave MK3 a high five. Pearl looked at MK3 and he looked away. Anyway, leave the past in the past. Pretty Pearl looked at me with an ice grill. MK3 started the 30-second countdown. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We on, MK3 whispered. MK3 drops the recorded intro. You're back listening to the station that's blazing the nation. 96.9 FM Iron Sharpens Iron Morning Show. With yours truly, the infamous Lifeline, and my partner in crime, the lovely Pretty Pearl. Caller, you're on the line with Lifeline. State your name and where you calling from. My name is Jamal, and I'm calling from Augusta, GA, the caller said. Okay, Jamal, what's the Labor Day story you would like to share? Me and my homies went to Atlanta for the weekend, a couple of years ago. Saturday, we went hard in the yard. From strip club to dance club, then to another strip club. Sunday, when most of my dudes woke up, they were hurting. Everybody saying they not drinking that hard like they did yesterday. I laughed at them and started drinking early. At 10 a.m., I was taking Patron to the head and chasing it with Coronas. I was tore up before we left the hotel to hit the street. I remember being at Onyx throwing money, then I started getting nauseous. I got one of my dude's keys to lay down in the car. I was wasted. Make a long story short, I woke up the next day laying in my throw-up. I didn't make it to my dude's car. I fell asleep on the back of somebody's pickup truck. I climbed out of the back of the pickup that was parked on the side of some house. I patted my pockets down. I lost my cell phone. I walked up the block to this main street where I saw a convenience store. I asked the guy at the store what side of town I'm on, and can I use his phone to call my peoples. He told me that I was on the west side. I asked him, "Are you sure? My auntie stays on the west side of Atlanta, and this don't look familiar." He said it shouldn't. You're on the west side of Knoxville, Tennessee. I passed out and woke up in another state. How real is that? Wow. That got to be the craziest drunk story I ever heard. Jamal, I'm going to leave you with Kendrick Lamar's Swimming Pool. We will be right back after we pay a few bills. The beat dropped as the call ended. The on-the-air sign went off. Shaking his head, MK3 said, "He had to be on something more than alcohol. Hello, bitches. I'm back." Satan broke through the commercial break. Steve looked at MK3 and Pretty Pearl. The station owner paid some technical gurus to make sure this didn't happen again. MK3 tried to override Satan from hijacking the airwaves, but had no luck. Time is ticking, Lifeline. Tick, tick, tick. I'm sure Detective Bickerstaff is keeping you aware of the pieces that have been laid down on this chessboard. Clearing the board on the way to get the king, check. Make sure your next move is your best move, Lifeline. Ha 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 ha. Study long, study wrong. Before I blow. Get it, blow? Your web page is about to blow up, Satan said. Then a kaboom sound dropped as if Satan dropped the mic. The lights flickered off, then back on. The commercials came back on the air, playing as if nothing happened. Somebody get Doug on the phone. This shit gotta stop, Steve said, furious, squeezing the back cushion on his chair, breathing hard, not understanding how he kept taking over the station. Calm down and try to relax. Can you please sit down? We still have a show to do. Pretty Pearl was trying to calm him down. He spun his seat around and flopped in it. The phone line started lighting up. Steve thought it was because Satan had taken over the station again. Then MK3 showed Steve his tablet with their website pulled up. There was a new video posted titled, "Playtimes over Lifeline, the real Satan." He pressed play on the video. There was a woman tied up to a chair in a dim-lit room. She looked up as if she saw something that alarmed her. She blew up, then the screen went black. The video gave Steve the chills, and it left him mystified. "That video can't be real," he said, trying to convince himself. "Do you think it's real?" he asked MK3. MK3 didn't say anything. He just shrugged his shoulders. Stay on the line. The Press, Chapter 29. Detective Bickerstaff almost became one with the radio when he heard Satan take over the station. Satan keeps taking shots at him. He picked up his phone to call Sergeant Harris. Before he could press send, his phone started ringing. Ring, ring. Sergeant Harris was calling. Hello? Detective Bickerstaff said as he answered his phone. Captain, get dressed. I'm on my way to pick you up. I'm sure you heard Satan take over the morning show. That's not even the half. Satan wants to go prime time. What do you mean by prime time? He posted the explosion on the morning show's website. It went viral. Now the press is outside the radio station. I have a few plainclothes officers over there to keep them away from the morning show crew. Tracy's death is no longer on a need-to-know basis. This case just went public. Satan wants the world to know what he's doing and who he's doing it to. Go on your computer to the website to see the video. I will be there shortly. Sergeant Harris ended the call. Detective Bickerstaff watched the video 5 times before the website blocked it. YouTube and other media outlets kept posting the video as clickbait. The video alone on the morning show website registered 10 million views in less than an hour once it dropped. Detective Bickerstaff shut down his computer, then went to take a shower. Back at the radio station, for the last hour, the Iron Sharpen Iron morning show went to continuous music. Doug, the owner, decided it will be best to refrain from taking calls. Steve's personal phone had been blowing up ever since Satan hijacked the station. He answered to take a call from Stephanie. Honey, I'm fine. We've been on the phone for 30 minutes. I need to call the twins. They both tried to call me. Love you. I will talk to you later. He ended the call before she could say anything. Steve put his phone on the mic table as he sat in his chair. Then he crossed his hands on the table and laid his head on top of his hands. Pretty Pearl walked over to him and rubbed his head. MK3 waved over Pretty Pearl. Pretty Pearl walked over to him. Then MK3 showed her his tablet. Satan has posted the identity of the lady in the explosion in a note. Pretty Pearl started reading the note. Tracy Dillion, a former girlfriend of Charlotte's favorite radio station personality, Lifeline. Everything this man touches will wither away. After reading the note, Pretty Pearl turned around, and Steve was staring at her and MK3. What? Is he still posting? He asked. Neither MK3 or Pretty Pearl responded. Steve got up to see what they were looking at. Have a seat. We will bring it to you. Please, sit first. Pretty Pearl said, not allowing him to walk over. He sat back in his chair, not really understanding why Pearl insisted that he did. Pretty Pearl grabbed the tablet from MK3. She walked it over to him, then handed the tablet to him. He read the note from top to bottom, placed the tablet on the table, and walked out of the room. Should we go after him? MK3 asked Pearl. Not yet. Give him some space so he can process this. On the other side of town. Someone knocked on Detective Bickerstaff's door. Lisa walked to the door and looked through the peephole. It's Sergeant Harris, Lisa said, looking back at Detective Bickerstaff. Let him in. Detective Bickerstaff finished getting dressed. Lisa opened the door. Hey, I hope that you're keeping him in line, Sergeant Harris said. Lisa didn't say anything. She smiled and went back to bed. What happened to your eye? Detective Bickerstaff asked, referring to Sergeant Harris's black eye. It's a long story, Captain. But what I will say is this. If you have a secret that is important, make sure you pick the right time to let it out. Sergeant Harris rubbed his jaw, trying not to touch his eye. Sergeant Harris didn't need to explain. Detective Bickerstaff had a gut feeling that Tashawn was Sergeant Harris's son. Some of Tashawn's pictures in his office resembled a young Sergeant Harris. Detective Bickerstaff grabbed his cane, then gave Lisa a kiss. He told her, "Make yourself at home. I will be back as soon as I can. There's a set of keys under the mattress on the left side of the bed. If you step out, make sure you lock the door. See you in a few." Detective Bickerstaff and Sergeant Harris left the apartment. They walked to the car without speaking. Once they got in the car, Detective Bickerstaff could not hold his tongue. To Sean or Ebony, who gave you the shiner? To Sean. I haven't talked to Ebony about anything. I told her I got the black eye breaking up a fight. All she said was, be careful, and she prays that God covers me. Back at the radio station, Sergeant Harris pulled into a parking spot in the Epic Center parking deck. When they got out of the car, a reporter spotted Detective Bickerstaff. Captain Bickerstaff, can I get an exclusive interview? The reporter asked. I'm not at liberty to give an exclusive at this moment. You will have to wait like everyone else. I will address the media in a press conference shortly. Detective Bickerstaff answered without stopping. He walked without his cane to the elevator. Sergeant Harris pressed the elevator button. I'm not liking this attention on the case. You would think that the killer wouldn't like this attention either. Trying to make a profile on the killer has been more difficult than I'd hoped. The elevator doors opened, and Sergeant Harris pressed the floor. I hear you, Captain. Sergeant Lyons and I tried to use the MOP system. You know, motives, opportunity, and profile. Even using that didn't help us with this case. When they walked out of the elevator, they had to walk through a flock of reporters. They showed their badges to the security guards, who kept the reporters at bay. One security guard walked them to the suite, where Iron Sharpens Iron Morning Show airs. Pretty Pearl and MK3 were the only ones in the room. When Pretty Pearl saw the detectives walk through the door, she sucked her teeth. She got up and tried to walk out of the room. Before she made it to the door, Detective Bickerstaff stopped her. Before you leave, Mrs. Washington, I need to ask you a few questions. With her usual attitude, Pretty Pearl asked, Why? You asked me 1,000 questions a month ago, and this maniac is still on the loose. Now he is toying with us, taking over the station whenever he wants. I should be asking you questions. I understand your frustration. Just keep in mind that we're doing everything in our power to end this. Some cases are more complicated than others. This just happens to be one of those cases. We would love to earn your trust and understanding, knowing that we are working diligently on this case. I would love a lot of things to be different. But anyway, what questions do you have for me? Detective Bickerstaff started asking her question about Satan taking over the station. Sergeant Harris swept the room for bugs and hidden cameras. MK3 sat in his chair scrolling down Twitter, reading all the tweets on Satan. He became famous in a matter of hours, Sergeant Harris said after he noticed what MK3 was reading. You're right. I've never seen anything like this, MK3 said with a little vigor in his tone. Sergeant Harris looked at him and noticed he was a bit intrigued by Satan's popularity. Sergeant Harris walked into the far corner of the room and sent Detective Bickerstaff a text. Ding. Detective Bickerstaff checked his cell phone. He opened the text from Sergeant Harris. Sergeant Harris. Something is strange about this kid, Malcolm. He might have taken a liking to Satan. He's scrolling down Twitter, reading the tweets from people responding to the Satan video. And note, he's literally scrolling with satisfaction. I know our first assessment of him was weird and no threat. I still feel that's the case, but his knowledge of the system plus his infatuation is alarming. Detective Bickerstaff looked at Sergeant Harris from the other side of the room. Sergeant Harris looked at MK3 with a raised eyebrow, then tilted his head to point in his direction. Detective Bickerstaff tried to look out the corner of his eye without alarming Pretty Pearl to what he was doing. Where's Mr. Williams? Detective Bickerstaff asked Pretty Pearl. He walked out of here a while ago. He wanted to be alone after seeing the video of Tracy. I have an idea where he could be. He's either on the roof or the cleaning closet down the hall. Do you want me to get him? No, I will look for him myself. Please stay in here until I get back. Detective Bickerstaff stepped into the hall and pulled out his phone. He dialed Mr. Williams. Ring. Ring. Hello, Detective. Steve answered the phone. Detective Bickerstaff had to raise his voice over the noise in the background. Mr. Williams, I'm at your studio. I need you to come answer a few questions before I address the press. I'm on my way. Detective Bickerstaff ended the call and started walking up the hall towards the janitor's closet. Before he could make it to the closet, Steve came out of it. "You sure you're okay?" Detective Bickerstaff asked as they walked up the hallway. Steve didn't respond, just walked down the hallway. Detective Bickerstaff watched him enter the room, then he went back to look inside the closet. It was a typical janitorial closet with mops, brooms, and other cleaning supplies. 3 walls of the closet had shelves on them, from the floor to the ceiling. Boxes of cleaning products and trash bags covered the shelves. The only thing that stood out was 2 fold-up chairs. One was opened, the other was leaning on a shelf. He looked through a few boxes. Tick, tick, tick. The pipe in the corner of the room made a ticking noise. When he looked at the pipe, it was wet from perspiration. He scanned the closet one more time before he left. Detective Bickerstaff walked back in the room where the morning show crew and Sergeant Harris were waiting. "Sorry for the wait, but I wanted to address everyone at the same time. This case has gone public, therefore the media will be pursuing all of you." That's from the janitor to the higher-ups. "When Doug Sweeney arrives, I will have a meeting with him as to how to move forward. Until that happens, I need you all to leave the media to the police. That includes social media as well. With Satan using the internet to bring attention to this case, we must diffuse that. The less the public knows, the sooner the case will get solved. Do we understand how we're going to move forward?" "Yes," replied MK3. "Got you." Pretty Pearl answered. Steve just nodded. "Yes, it's great that we are on the same sheet of music. Any answers to the press should only be, 'I'm not at liberty to discuss this due to the ongoing investigation of this matter.' If you're asked any question from the media 1,000,000 times, this is your answer 1,000,000 times. Sergeant Harris will give you my card. I need to give the press a statement." Detective Bickerstaff left the room. Sergeant Harris passed MK3 and Steve a card. When he got to Pretty Pearl, he passed the detective's card and one of his own. "If you need anything, don't hesitate to call, no matter big or small. I'm here at your disposal, Mrs. Washington." Sergeant Harris looked at Pretty Pearl all seductive. Then he went up to the press conference. Stay on the line. Pass interference. Chapter 30. Later that night, Steve was sitting on the bed, still moving in slow motion. He hadn't snapped back from watching the video of Tracy being killed. He was flipping through the Roku, but not really paying any attention to what was on. "Sweetheart, I'm home," Stephanie shouted up the stairs. Steve didn't respond. She took the 2 bags of groceries into the kitchen, put them up, then headed upstairs. She walked into the bedroom to see Steve sitting on the bed. "Sweetheart, didn't you hear me call you?" She put her purse and keys on the dresser. "Yes, I didn't know if you needed me to respond." "My bad," he said lightly. She heard his response. Usually, she would have given him the business, but tonight she gave him a pass. Pretty Pearl called her and told her to watch him. She told her that she thinks Steve is taking Tracy's death personal, like he's responsible. While taking off her workout clothes, she said, "I got you some butter pecan ice cream from the store. After I take a shower, we can get 2 big bowls and watch Love and Basketball." "You been to the gym, baby?" "Yes, sweetheart. Didn't you read any of the text I sent you?" "Do you even know what time it is?" she asked. He didn't say anything. He just looked at her. She ignored him and went to take a shower. When Stephanie came back into the bedroom from taking a shower, the television was off. Steve was sitting in the dark. She turned the lamp on to see her man looking pitiful. He had his eyes closed, but you could see the tear stains dried up on his face. "Are you okay, sweetheart? Do you need anything?" He didn't say anything. He turned his head briefly to look at her with a sullen stare. Then he turned his back to her as he laid down and put the covers over his head. She dried off and got dressed for bed. When she crawled under the covers and got close to him, she noticed he was still dressed. He even had his shoes on. Stephanie bit her tongue and held him until he went to sleep. On the other side of town, Detective Bickerstaff and Lisa were having dinner at Ciro's Italian restaurant in the university area. They were already finished with their meal, and Lisa was waiting on her New York-style cheesecake. "I can't believe you didn't want any dessert. That's a first," Lisa said. Then she sipped her glass of wine. "I might taste your cheesecake, but I'm stuffed. The whiskey, shrimp, and chicken were amazing. I'm really enjoying Charlotte. I've been coming out here for the past 3 years, ever since my dad bought a lake house on Lake Norman. He has been doing everything he said he would once he retired. He's been asking me to move closer, but I've been hesitant. It's mainly the weather. I'm a West Coast girl to the core. I know it's hard to change your mind, but it would be nice to see you more. I guess you can say it would be like a 2-for-1 or killing 2 birds with 1 stone." Detective Bickerstaff looked Lisa straight in her eyes. Lisa smiled at how he thought it would be nice for her to live here. Her smile was so big, you could see it through her glass as she sipped her wine. Detective Bickerstaff looked at his cell phone on the table to see the time. "Damn, we have to get out of here. I need to be home to catch the 10 o'clock news. Waiter," he shouted as he waved down the waiter. "Can you bring the check? Also have the waitress put the cheesecake in a to-go container. Thank you." "No problem, sir. I will be right back with the check," the waiter said. He paid for the meal, and they headed home. They walked down the hallway holding hands. Detective Bickerstaff dug in his pocket with his free hand. When he pulled his keys out, Lisa let his hand go and stopped walking. "Before we go in, I think something I did earlier might have been over the top." "What did you do?" Detective Bickerstaff asked, anticipating the worst. "Why'd you say it like that?" "Anyway, I kinda cleaned up. Well, more like decorated your place. I hope I didn't cross the line. I just felt the place needed a someone lives here feel. Forgive me if I went too far." Lisa started walking in front of him to the door. She walked past his apartment and stood there. Detective Bickerstaff walked up to his door, put the key in, and looked at her. She closed her eyes. He opened the door and walked in. She had given his place a makeover. New sheets, cover, and pillows. New nightstands with drawers that came close to matching his headboard. He no longer had to use his cooler for a nightstand. 2 lamps, 1 on each nightstand, and a huge wooden trunk. The trunk was placed at the foot of the bed. He smiled as he walked through, looking around at all the changes. "Don't say anything until you see the whole place, especially the bathroom. If you like it, you're welcome. If not, I'm sorry I violated your space. I put your old things in bags and stuffed them into the closet. I also have more bedding in the trunk. I really love this trunk," Lisa said. Then she pointed to the bathroom. Detective Bickerstaff walked into his bathroom to see everything matching. She changed everything, which was a whole lot of nothing. He had decorated with bargain stores items. Now the bathroom was decorated with a flower pattern, from the toothbrush holder to the shower curtain. He walked back into the bedroom to see Lisa looking nervous. Walking towards Lisa, he said, "I don't know how you did it or why you did it, but I love it. And the weird thing is, I love the bathroom most. The flowers and floral smell bring out the softer side in me." Lisa exhaled emphatically, feeling relieved. He hugged her. She looked up at him. He looked down and kissed her. "I'm so happy you love it. I have so many ideas on doing the kitchen. I know your place is small, but I see a love seat or futon that—" Lisa began before Detective Bickerstaff covered her lips with his finger. "Slow down, beautiful. I'm still disappointed that you didn't ask me before you changed my place. We will talk about how to handle me a little later. Right now, I need to find the remote so I can watch the news." He stopped hugging her to look for the remote. "It's in the nightstand drawer," Lisa said, pointing at the nightstand. He got the remote and turned the TV on. He flipped to the news. He had only missed 2 minutes. He sat on the left side of the bed, emptying his pocket, putting all his items in the drawer of his new nightstand. Lisa went to the kitchen to get a fork to eat her cheesecake. She kicked off her shoes as she walked to the bedroom. She sat on the right side of the bed, with her leg crossed Indian style, eating her cake. Detective Bickerstaff took off his shoes, then turned to sit next to Lisa. Finally, the clip about the Satan video and note came on. Today, the Charlotte community lost one of their own. Tracy Dillion. Tracy was an entrepreneur and founder of One Pillow One Cover, the nonprofit organization that aided the homeless sleeping in the city. Her presence will be missed dearly. Her death will probably outlast her efforts. Tracy's death was posted on 96.9 FM Iron Sharpens Iron Morning Show website. Before the video was taken down, millions of viewers around the world saw the disturbing images. The police department held a press conference earlier today, reported Julia Simpson, the news anchor. On behalf of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, I'm here to confirm the tragic death of Tracy Dillion. Her death is under full investigation. The video and note will be tagged as evidence. We feel confident that examining all the evidence that has been gathered will lead us to catch her killer. For us to do that, we cannot discuss our investigation of this case. Our prayers go out to her family and loved ones. Thank you, Detective Bickerstaff said, trying to walk away from the podium. The press conference coordinator whispered into Detective Bickerstaff's ear. You have to take 2 questions. Then you can end the press conference by saying, "No further questions." First question? Detective Bickerstaff said to the press. A reporter walked up to a microphone stand in the audience. I'm Tammy White from the Charlotte Observer. My question is Tracy's death connected to Steve Lifeline Williams, the host of Iron Sharpen Iron Morning Show? Tammy said, then backed up from the microphone. It's too early in our investigation to lead in that direction. Once we sort through all the evidence, I'm sure we will have something more concrete to offer. Until then, give the family some time to mourn and respect their privacy. Next question, Detective Bickerstaff said. I'm Reginald Jacobs from the Charlotte Observer. Is it true that Randy Johnson was Satan's first victim, and the department kept the details of his death a secret? Reginald said, then held up his phone to record the captain's answer. Detective Bickerstaff looked at Sergeant Harris, who stood left of him. Then he looked at Reginald in the audience. Where did you get that from? Detective Bickerstaff asked. I can't reveal my source, Reginald said. This is a prime example of why the department will keep information on this case sealed. Someone has lost their life, and the killer is on the loose. Information in the wrong hands will keep the killer informed of our moves. The least the killer knows, the closer we are to making an arrest. Thank you. No further questions. After the press conference, Reginald Jacobs was held in question by police. We will be right back with more news. Julia Simpson ended the news segment. Detective Harris turned the volume down on the television. Why did they air that we held the reporter for questioning? This case has turned into a reality show. Detective Bickerstaff slammed the remote on his nightstand. Then he got up and walked to his desk. Calm down, baby. Some things will be out of your control, Lisa said. I understand that. But when it comes to catching a killer, you don't have room for error. Detective Bickerstaff pulled out a bottle of vodka from his desk drawer. He opened it and took a swig straight from the bottle. Back at the Williams house, Steve jumped up out of his sleep. Stephanie was watching Sex and the City with the volume low, trying not to wake him. What's wrong, sweetheart? Did you have a nightmare? No, not really, Steve said as he sat up in bed. Can I ask you a question? He looked at her. Sure, sweetheart. Do you think I'm a bad person? Not at all. I wouldn't have been with you this long if I thought that. So get that out your head. You hear me? Get that out your head, she said very adamantly. Thanks, baby. That really means a lot to me. Then he laid back down. He pulled the cover back over his head and fell asleep instantly. Stephanie looked over at him a few times. She hadn't seen him like this since his mother passed. She turned the TV off and laid down, holding him tight. Stay on the line. Groundhog Day. Chapter 31. A little red-head boy was sitting at his table, eating a bowl of cereal. He grabbed the box of Raisin Bran that was on the table and poured more cereal in his bowl. He stirred the cereal around in the milk already in the bowl. The young boy started eating his cereal as he read the puzzle on the back of the box. Smiling from ear to ear, he kept reading as he brought the spoon from the bowl to his mouth. He placed the spoon in his mouth and noticed a gross taste. His eyes cringed as he blew out his jaws, refusing to swallow. He lowered his head to look at his bowl. His bowl was full of blood and maggots. The young boy fell out his chair to the floor as he pushed himself away from the table. He spit the blood and maggots out his mouth. The bowl tilted over on the table. Lying on the floor, he noticed the blood and maggots spilling from the table. The young boy gasped with his mouth open, unable to move before the spill reached him. Detective Bickerstaff sat up in his bed in a cold sweat. Lisa was standing up, 2 feet away from the bed, watching him. "How long have you been there?" Detective Bickerstaff asked Lisa. "A good 3 minutes. You started jerking in your sleep and woke me. I laid there watching you for a few seconds. Then I remembered our last experience. I got out the bed and let your dream run its course. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." Lisa got back in the bed. "I'm sorry for putting you through this. I wish I could control my dreams, especially the reoccurring ones. This one always has me gasping for air like I'm having a heart attack." Detective Bickerstaff looked worried as he sat there. "It's okay, baby. We all have our challenges. Hopefully, you will conquer this one and move past it, because new challenges are coming. They always do." Lisa gave him a kiss, then rolled over with her back to him. Detective Bickerstaff leaned back on the headboard. "Are you sleepy?" "Ah, yes. I was asleep before you woke me." "Okay, don't worry about it." His neediness was unmistakable. Lisa opened her eyes and rolled over. She sucked in her lips as she inhaled, laying there. She exhaled as she sat up next to him. "What's on your mind? I've been trying to find the right time to tell you this. When we met in Arizona, I was there only to visit my parents' gravesite. I haven't visited their graves since they were laid to rest there. I'd been wanting to visit but couldn't muster the strength to do it," Detective Bickerstaff said. Then he paused. "That's not uncommon. People deal with death differently. You're right, but it's a little deeper than that. Bear with me as I try to tell you. I grew up in a domestically violent household. My dad was very strict, militant, and abusive. My mother, on the other hand, was a very loving, family-first woman. There were times when I would do something that would enrage my father. He would beat me to the point of no return. I would have bruises that would take a couple of weeks to go away. My mother at times would stop my dad from beating me. She would get between us. His eyes would get big as silver dollars. My mother would tell me to go to my room. I would run to my room and hide. My father would beat my mother for interfering with him trying to discipline me. This happened more than I could remember. I wish I could forget my childhood." Detective Bickerstaff got out the bed. "I'm sorry to hear that." "I wish," Lisa began to say, before Detective Bickerstaff cut her off. "Hold on. Let me finish telling you the whole story." Detective Bickerstaff paced the room, trying to get his words together. Lisa watched him closely. She had never seen him act this way. So, one morning, my parents and I were having breakfast. Just a normal morning, my father reading the paper and having his coffee. My mother was cutting her coupons while I ate my cereal. Everything was going great. My father was in a good mood. He laughed at the funnies in the paper. My mother smiled at me as we noticed my father in an unusually good mood. That didn't last long. I grabbed the cereal box, trying to get the prize. My father told me to get my hand out the box. He said, "When it's time for the prize to come out, it will." My mother said, "Let that boy get the prize." He lowered his newspaper and frowned at my mother. He raised his paper and returned to his reading. I didn't know if I should keep looking for the prize. My mother nodded at me to keep on looking. I smiled at her, then kept digging. I found the prize, the Green Lantern power ring. I was extremely happy when I found the ring. I sat the cereal box to close to the edge of the table when I tried to sit it down. Cereal spilled all over the table. My father balled up his newspaper. then slammed it down hard. When he jumped up, I couldn't breathe. He left the kitchen and went into his bedroom. My mother told me to go outside and don't return until she called for me. I ran outside and hid in the crawl space under the house. I cried so hard, knowing that my mother had to deal with my father for my screw-up. All I heard was my father yelling at my mother. "See what you made me do. See what you made me do." My father repeated that several times. I really couldn't tell what was going on because my mother wasn't yelling back. Then I heard a gunshot. I had never heard a gunshot ring that loud in my life. After the gunshot, dead silence. I didn't know what to think. I slowly crawled from under the house, trying to see what was going on. The door was still open from when I left out. My dad was lying in a pool of blood on the floor. My mother was sitting still in her chair. She had her head back with her eyes wide open. I tried to wake her, but she wouldn't wake up. I looked at the table and my ring was still there. I grabbed my bowl off the table, then poured my cereal out in the sink. I climbed into my chair sitting on my knees. I made another bowl of cereal and started eating. I put on my power ring, then pointed my fist at my dad on the floor. I continued eating my cereal until the cops came. The cops banged at the front door, but my parents told me to never answer the door. Then 2 officers came through the back door into the kitchen where I was. One of the officers yelled, "What the fuck?" when he saw my father lying on the floor. The other officer noticed me at the table and came over to me. He asked me if I was okay. I said, "Yes, but my father's hurt. Can you wake my mother up, please?" The officer picked me up and took me outside to the police car. I was 7 years old when that happened. You're the first person I've told on my own. Detective Bickerstaff finished his story as he sat on the bed with his back facing Lisa. "I'm glad you think of me enough to tell me," Lisa told him. "Believe me, it was hard," he responded as he fidgeted with the threads on the bed cover. "Don't take this the wrong way, but I already knew what happened to your parents. My father was the officer that took you to the squad car." "What? This is not the time for your sense of humor. I'm trying to be serious with you. I would never play with something this serious." I remember the day that it happened as if it was yesterday. My father came home from work that day very emotional. He always gave me and my sister a kiss before he cleaned up for dinner. That day, he held my sister and me for at least 30 minutes straight. My mother came into our room and asked if he was okay. Later, we understood why he was acting that way. "My father still has that newspaper clipping in a frame in his den," Lisa said sincerely. "Did you know who I was when we first met?" "No, not at all. I happened to come across some old pictures of my dad in a shoebox while I was looking for something. I was mesmerized at how young my dad looked in the pictures. In one of the photos, I noticed the newspaper hanging in the background. Then I started thinking about that day because it changed my father's life. He never told us the story as kids about how that day affected him. But after that day, my father started telling my sister and me he loved us several times a day," Lisa said. Then she paused a moment as she started getting emotional. "It took me a few days to put your name, William, and the young boy, Billy, together. I remember when we met, you told me your name and it sounded familiar. It didn't really hit me until one of our new pilots, William Patterson, asked that we call him Bill or Billy. Curiosity got the best of me, so I looked up the incident. That's the truth. Why didn't you say anything when you found out? I figured if you wanted me to know, you would have told me. Plus, that's a very hard and personal thing to bring up." "Yeah, I could imagine. But on the other hand," Detective Bickerstaff said with a smirk on his face. "But on the other hand? What are you trying to say?" Lisa asked, confused. "You could have asked me when you came out that sundress." "I would have told you anything," Detective Bickerstaff said. He jumped on Lisa, hugging and kissing her all over her face. Lisa tried to push him off her. "Stop, silly. I don't know where you got all this energy from, but I need 4 more hours of sleep. After that, We can do whatever you want." "Stop, silly," Lisa giggled. She was so tickled by the way he was all over her. "Okay, I'm going to hold you to those words." He hugged Lisa from behind. They cuddled all night.